Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. It's getting awfully toasty out there. Summer has definitely arrived in Buffalo. This week I have two really special recipes planned for you. First, I'm going to share my famous pesto recipe. And second, I'm going to share my other famous bruschetta recipe, tomato basil bruschetta. So come on into my kitchen and let's embrace the heat because, ooh baby, it's hot outside and it looks like it's going to be that way for some time. So you may as well enjoy some summer treats along the way. So first things first, we got to get all our ingredients together. We need pine nuts, olive oil, good quality. This is from Aldi. It was $8 for this little bottle, and it's from Sicily, so I'm hoping it's good. Garlic. I use Romano cheese. Lots of people use Parmesan cheese. You could use that, but this is what I use. And some pepper. Oh, but we're missing something. What are we missing? The basil! Follow me to my garden. There's my beautiful basil plants. There's 3 plants in there. I'm probably going to use most of that. It's early in the season, so normally these plants get humongous sized. I'm probably going to buy a few more plants. I usually have about 6 plants, and I've been putting them in the pot lately instead of in the garden. It's just easier, more accessible. My garden is off in the distance of my yard. It's closer to the door to get my basil. And if there's any left at the end of the season, I can just bring the pot inside, so it's really convenient. Didn't leave very much behind. I got my bowl of basil. Those of you who've watched my other episodes will recall that I don't really do a lot of measuring. I do a lot of guesstimating. That's how I cook. But anyway, I'll post a recipe, but you're going to notice I'm not going to measure a lot of ingredients. Regarding the pine nuts, super perishable, so you want to keep them in the fridge and you want to use them right away. It's not something you're going to save like till next summer. Use them this summer if you don't make enough pesto. You can put them directly into salads. They're really delicious. Or there's other recipes too. Pasta salads with pine nuts. There's all kinds of ways you can use that. So anyway, I'm just going to get the rest of these things together, get my garlic ready. Typically, I found people, when they make their pesto, they'll put in 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. I like it really garlicky, though these cloves are pretty huge. So I think I'm going to just do 3 larger cloves this time. So I'm going to peel those, get them ready, and my pine nuts are ready. And then I'm going to put them into my favorite. What's my favorite? The food processor. I'm going to peel the garlic before I put it into the food processor. Some people mince it before, but you don't need to do that in the food processor. So get those and throw those in. And there's our pine nuts and garlic. I'm going to give them a whirl. And now I'm going to add the basil leaves, which I washed. There was a little bit of dirt underneath the leaves from vigorous watering. And as usual, I don't measure, I just fill it to the top. Start grinding it up a little bit, but usually it doesn't go anywhere. At this point, I'm going to start adding some oil. Just going to pour it in through the top while it's running. Looking pesto-y in there. It looks pretty good. I think I'm going to add a tiny bit more oil. And, again, I've always done this by feel and by look. Not so much by measuring. Give it a little more oil. Can never have enough olive oil. Give it one more spin. And that looks lovely. I'm going to pull it out of the food processor now, put it in a bigger bowl, and then I'm going to fold in the cheese and a little bit of black pepper. And then I will have a little sample and see how it tastes. Okay, now we're gonna give it a little shake of pepper. I typically use fresh ground, but this is just easy while I'm videoing. And then the cheese, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna dump it. And I don't know, about a cup or so. So I'll stir that in and then sample it. At this point, this is a little thicker than I like. It's almost like a dip consistency, and I like it just a little bit thinner. So I'm going to add a little more oil. Should do it. Stir that in. And then before I serve it, I may actually put even a little more oil in it because I like it to be a little looser. If you're going to use this pasta, which is delicious, just to cook pasta up and, make like a basil sauce, then you're definitely going to use even more oil to make it, looser. But that is a really delicious meal idea. Just to cook up some pasta, mix in some basil, chop up some fresh tomatoes. All right. I'm going to give this a whirl and see how I did. There it is. Perfect. Next, we're going to make bruschetta. Okay, so here we go with our bruschetta. I'm going to start with plum tomatoes or Roma tomatoes or San Marzano tomatoes, something like that. Best to use fresh picked out of the garden. They are so delicious. Of course, we have some garlic. Do about half an onion. I normally would do more basil, but I decimated my plant outside and I don't want to take any more leaves off or it won't grow anymore. But I would typically use a bit more than that. And then a little olive oil and balsamic vinegar and a little salt and pepper. And it is a bit of time consuming to cut all these things up, but you're going to cut everything up as small as you can and just mix it all in a bowl. It's as easy as that. Starting with the onions, and purple onions can be really, really potent. So if you want to add a little less, you can. Vary that. Like I'm chopping these now, and woo! They are zesty, so I think I'm not going to put all of these in. I'm just going to put some in and then mix in the tomatoes and the basil. Ooh, and see how much we need. Oh, my eyes are watering. Ow! Oh, I had to pause the video so I could cry in peace. I only used half those onions. They're really potent. So now I'm going to do my garlic, and you want to cut it up as fine as you can. And then I'm going to chop up my basil. And lastly, the tomatoes. And there is our basil finely chopped and garlic and onions. Now this is when you really want to have a super sharp knife. So a dull knife is just going to squeeze all the juice out of the tomato. So I'm going to chop these up as tiny as I can get them and add them to the bowl. Okay, everything's in there now. We're just going to give it a little toss. And then we're going to add the balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and salt and pepper. All right, we're just going to give it a little drizzle of olive oil. Okay, maybe more than a little. Couple shakes of vinegar. There's some pepper in there. And a little bit of salt. Be careful with salt. Salt, less is more. And you can always add more, but you can't add less. So you just want to be cautious with that. All right, so that looks beautiful. Might need a little more oil. All right, we're gonna give it a taste test. Yummy. Now this always tastes better after it's marinated for a bit. Flavors meld. At least an hour, a couple hours, even overnight. The flavors will blend a little better. I think I'm gonna put in a little bit more of the onion to give it just a tiny bit more kick. But then we're done. Okay.
Nothing like a pre-dinner appetizer. Delicious pesto. And who doesn't like bruschetta? I love bruschetta. Excellent. Fresh pesto. Oh.
Ooh, messy.
Good thing I had the hand here. Both are delicious. Now I just could use a nice bottle of beer.
And that concludes this week's. So, one other thing. I normally toast the bread that goes with the bruschetta, brush a little olive oil on it, throw it in the oven. But I just used, the bread straight up as it is, which is delicious too. But it's really nice toasted, and then some of the juice soaks in, and it's like crispy and nice. So next week is we're leading up to 4th of July weekend, and we're going to be talking about barbecue tips, and I have a special fresh delicious 4th of July dessert that's going to be a no bake dessert because it is hot and it's going to continue to be hot. So see you next week.